son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. This week we head to the paperclip for the STP 500 in Martinsville. This week so far in Martinsville, we've got qualifying snowed out. That's right, I said snow. Look at Liehr, he's all wintered up for you. And the current race forecast is a slight chance of more precipitation, but we should be able to get the race in and temperatures just above freezing. Stages for the race will be at laps 130, lap 260, and then we race all the way to the finish at lap 500.
In the last 14 races here, with Ford and Toyota winning in 2017, is it wrong to wear hot hand body warmers during a cold sporting event? Only if you're not drinking enough that day.
All right, Liehr. Nice tip on the hand warmers or consumption of adult beverages, if you will. We have a problem that we need to address before we get into this week's Burning Rubber, and that is last week's epic fail of one Jamie Liehr sending Mr. Martin Truex Jr., his favorite driver, to the garage. And what did I say when he did it? I believe the tape would show that I said, watch Truex come out and dominate this thing from green flag to checkered, winning all the stages. And what did he do? Liehr, I'll let you explain what he did.
Thanks, man, for the call out. But, yeah, he definitely went out and dominated the race and won all the stages, led the most laps with 125 and won the race. And I stuck to my guns, and I had zero exposure on the number one play of the week. So, yeah, you can tell how well I did last week.
Hey, kids, at least we're honest here, and we disclose when we have tragic decision-making. I didn't play much Truex either, and what little Truex I played did not bail out the amount of Harvick I had. So it was not a good week for me either. But I think it's time to turn the page. Maybe just like the snow, it'll clean the bad from our system, right?
Yes.
All right, Liehr, it's time to burn some rubber. Do the honors, buddy.
Man, I'm looking forward to this one, bud. It's one of those where this is one of the oldest tracks that they race on, and just throw in the weather this weekend. It makes it for a fun race, but snowstorm, baby!
I like how you tried to blow out my computer speakers there. That was fantastic, Liehr. Well done, sir. All right, man. A lot of action. We didn't get qualifying in, which means everybody's starting on owner points this week, which has Truex leading the field. Who do you have to burn some rubber for us? Now, we do have the 2 practice status to go on, so who are you looking at to tear up the track this week?
Well, brother, I am disappointed. Was looking for my ski goggles, too, to throw it on for the bit, but couldn't find them anywhere. Actually, man, I'm going to be rolling Denny Hamlin. Hamlin and the 11 team have been solid and consistent so far in 2018. This weekend, they come to one of Denny's best tracks that he's performed on the circuit. But Denny loves these short tracks where he can bang and move guys and other drivers out of the way. But Denny's one of those that's obviously not shy about controversy. Just remember last year with the incident with him and Chase Elliott. This is actually Denny's best track on the circuit, and he has accumulated a bunch of great stats. He'll be starting tomorrow's race out of the 6th position based on those owners' points. Comes with a modest price tag. This is 8th highest on the board. He has the most wins of any track here at Martinsville with 5 for him. As far as a career, this is his highest winning track with 5 wins. He's got 24 starts, 12 top 5s, and 18 top 10s. So, yes, that is a 50% clip of top 5s and a 75% clip of top 10s. They showed a little speed in the first practice, being 8th fastest, but fell off during the second practice where they were the 18th fastest. This track is obviously not about aerodynamics. It's more about position, where the pit strategy falls into place. And Denny knows this track better than most of them. He's a native of Chesterfield, Virginia, so this is a homecoming for him in that number 11 team. But I look for him to be a must-own play this week. And by the the time the checkered flag flies, either tomorrow or Monday. Who knows what's going to happen? You'll definitely be in a position to where you need to start him, and he's definitely going to be a dominator as far as points are concerned. He's going to pay off that $9,400 salary this weekend. I think a lot of people are going to overlook him this weekend just because of the fact of where he's starting at. But I think a lot of people are going to be concentrating on Truex and your burning rubber guy. But I'm thinking that Denny Hamlin's going to surprise some people, and he's going to be the guy to have tomorrow or Monday.
Look, instinctually, Liehr, I wanted to be with you on the ham bone. I was with you. Matter of fact, I had designed several lineups with the ham bone on them. But with him starting 6th and in final practice, he was way off the mark. He was 21st on 10-lap averages in final practice. He was nowhere to be found in the top 10-lap averages, nor was he anywhere to be found in the top 15 of 20-lap averages. That screams to me a guy that's uncomfortable with his car, even though he's really successful at this track. I would also like to point out that Hamlin is one of those guys that seems to run better at these types of tracks the second time around. Now, if this was the fall race, I would be all in on Hamlin probably. But in the spring race here, he tends to mess up the spring race, and that's just Hamlin's style. He's a second half of the race season kind of guy. Between that and his slow practices, man, I'm disagreeing with you, and I didn't mean to pile it on after the Truex debacle last week, man. That's the last thing I want to do. But instinctually, I'm going a different route, and my route is with the currently most successful driver here, and that is Rowdy at $11,000 this week. The first thing you need to know about Rowdy is that of the last 4 winning lineups for Martinsville, for DraftKings, he has been required to be on 3 of them. He's finished in the top 5 each of the last 5 races here, and he's won twice, and he's led 813 laps at this track. He was also top of the board in 20-lap averages in final practice. That screams to me a guy that loves his car, that has a car dialed in. He's starting on the front row. I just love the Rowdy play this week. So much so, I forgot to do the hat switch and put it on and show my Rowdy love, even though he's in the caramel M&Ms this week. Liehr, your thoughts on Rowdy?
I mean, there's no doubt, dude. In 2017, this was one of his better tracks with leading 274 laps in this race last year, and then 184 where he actually won it in the fall. No, I'm definitely going to have some exposure on Rowdy Busch this weekend. No denying the fact that he's actually had a pretty good 2018 season so far. You know, he probably he was my one of my picks last week to win versus, you know, obviously not playing any Truex because most of the exposure I had was more on Kyle Busch and obviously Kevin Harvick. But no, I'm definitely with you this weekend, brother, on the Rowdy Busch play. And he's definitely due for a win. And that team's, you know, hungry and they want to get it done here. And, you know, he's got 2 wins under his belt here at Martinsville with, you know, fairly within one, at least in the last 2 years. So the only thing with him is the salary implications, which, I mean, that's always going to be coming to play each and every week between, you know, Harvick and Busch and Truex. So, you know, definitely going to have some exposure on Kyle Busch. It's just all how it works in with the salary caps.
Speaking of Mr. Harvick, what do you think people's ownership percentage is going to be of him this weekend, especially with him not practicing at the top of the boards and disappointing 48% of the field that owned him last week?
Yeah, well, definitely, I mean, obviously dumb move by him last week. I mean, to have a 4th win in a row on the line and to make a move like that, and obviously Larson was maybe racing him a little hard for being so early in the race, but I mean, just an idiot move by Harvick, and he even admitted so himself. But I don't know, man. I think Harvick's going to be probably lower owned than he should be. I mean, the $11,600 salary is going to definitely help that position to have him be a low-owned guy. But I think starting in that 8th position, and statistically, Martinsville is not one of his better tracks. So he does have a win here, obviously, but it's definitely not one of his better tracks that he has on the circuit. But hell, even Atlanta was one of his worst tracks, and he went out and dominated that race this year. So I think you obviously still have to have exposure on Kevin Harvick. I think he's going to come out this week and try to prove himself again and say, you know, to the naysayers after last week, you know, hey, I'm just as good at these short tracks as I am at the other type of tracks, and we are going to be dominant this year. And you never know with Harvick. I think he'll come out and either have a fantastic race and be a must-own play, or a guy that, I mean, it's hard. Yeah, 11,600. It's hard to fit the other drivers into a guy that costs so much money. So he may be a void for people specifically just due to his salary.
That you may have a chance this weekend to play the best car in NASCAR right now and get it at sub 25% ownership. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility this week, especially with what his practice times were and everything. And he may go out and dominate this race as good as that car's been all season. That is just a crazy concept to me, and I honestly do not know how much Harvick I'm going to have, and whether or not I'm even going to play any. It's such an interesting dilemma for me this week.
Even Rodney Childers today said that their car is really, really good, and I think that based on obviously the crew chief really liking the car and the setup, and the driver the same thing. He may have not been showing it in times, but again. I know you're talking about, Denny Hamlin and the times here. It's not about being fast here. It's obviously you do have to have speed to keep up with the guy that's leading the race, but a lot of more strategy comes into play this weekend versus speed and aerodynamics. But also too, one of the things is, this is a 500 lap race, so we have a ton of Dominator points up for play this weekend. So you've got to have the guys that dominate this race. And in my opinion, Harvick definitely has a chance or an opportunity to be that guy, plus with a little bit of place differential in there.
All right, so pop quiz, dude. 1, 2, or 3 Dominators this week on the 500 lap affair we have going?
Well, you can see that it's hard to pass here. And the laps just go, they click, 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 click. So more than likely it's going to be Truex and Busch starting towards the top of the race that are going to be one of the dominators this race for sure. Because I definitely think that one of the two will get at least 150 laps led here. Because even look at what we were talking about, Kyle Busch, where he led 184 in the fall race and 274 in the spring race, this race last year. So it's very easy for somebody to go out and at least lead at least 150 laps. So, but in my opinion, I'm definitely thinking there's going to be 2 dominators in this race. But more than likely, the percentages and everything veer towards there's going to be at least 3.
The way this season's been going, I would say instinctually I want to go 1 or 2, especially since there's some nice place differential guys that we're about ready to talk about. You know what? Let's use this as an opportunity to segment into talking about our value plays. Some of those guys that have not had the best season so far and thus are starting near the back of the pack. Liehr, who's your first guy to save some money, since clearly you're wanting to spend up on Rowdy and possibly Truex this week?
Yeah, and you're going to need, obviously, these guys to make it work within your teams this week. But, man, I'm going to be rolling with Chip Ganassi, J-Mac, the number 1. He's had some issues, obviously, so far in the 2018 season, along with his teammate Kyle Larson. I know that, obviously, Larson's starting in the top 10 this week. He's had some decent performances. And then last week, he did finish second. But I attributed some of that to, obviously, Chevy's new Camaro body. But because both of these drivers are very, very talented, and J-Mac has been, a veteran driver for a long, long time in the NASCAR Cup circuit. But this week, obviously, due to those performances, he's going to be starting in the 26th position tomorrow. And along with his starting position, J-Mac is insanely cheap this week, all the way down to $7,100. He was 16th fastest in the first practice today and 8th fastest in the second practice today. So he's raced here 30 times. He's got 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 15 top 10s. So, he's got some pretty good top 10 finishes, 50% clip there at the top 10s. He's got McDonald's on the vehicle this week. I look for J-Mac to at least, get a top 15, if not a top 10, with his cheap salary. And the only issue with him, in my opinion, this week is he's probably going to be a way high-owned driver based on those aspects with his cost and where he's starting at, and obviously the equipment that he's in. But if he obviously does what he's supposed to do, it's not going to matter whether he's going to be a highly owned guy or not. But in my opinion, he's at least going to get a top 15, which is 11 plus place differential points, if not more, plus some of those fastest laps. So and the position. So at $7,100, J-Mac's definitely going to be worth the value this weekend, in my opinion.
No, dude, spot on analysis. I love the J-Mac play. Matter of fact, I should have stole it from you so I could have wore that sweet McDonald's hat that I have. But instead, I went with another guy, and I ended up changing my opinion. So I'm going to walk you through my original thought process and then tell you why I changed my opinion. So originally, I was going to tell you to play Allmendinger at 6,400 starting 25th. Dinger, who I like, is a road course racer. That's the same skill set that translates to the paperclip very well, knowing how to get in and out of the gas and have that acceleration coming out of the turn is extremely important here. He also has a history of finishing fairly well here for the type of equipment he's in. The problem is he was nowhere to be seen on the 15-lap average or on the 20-lap average chart. And when he pulled into the garage after final practice, he was shaking his head and was talking about how the car was jumping and chattering and the front wheels were not turning right going into any of the turns. He was completely unhappy with that car. We don't have any more opportunity for them to get that car back on the track and get it dialed in. That's why I'm not a huge fan of playing Dinger this week when instinctually I wanted to. So instead of playing Dinger, I'm going to run back Daniel Suarez at 7,500 starting 23rd. In his limited career here in only 2 races, he has 1 terrible finish and 1 15th place finish. He was running 6th on the 15-lap average chart in practice and just outside of the top 10 in the 20-lap average. There's a part of me that wants to hop aboard the Bain train too this weekend for a good source of value starting 27th. However, Roush Fenway seems to have the same problem that JTG Racing has with the cars jumping out of where they need to be in the tire chatter. I don't like either one of those cars. It tends to scare me. The reason why is we've seen Stenhouse already wreck in practice too. He's on a backup car. Roush Fenway has a history of wrecking here. I know I gave you quite a bit crammed into that pick, but where I would end up is playing Suarez at 7,500 and avoiding some of the other guys that I wanted to play, but there's just not good reasons to, in my opinion.
Who'd have thunk it, man? Sticky Ricky putting something in the wall at one of these tracks.
Yeah, it's only 5 weeks in a row, right?
I mean, I was going back through last year's content that we had talked about, and I had him down as my going to garage pick, and it's like, oh man, it never ceases to amaze me about Sticky Ricky and him. But man, yeah, I don't know about that guy. But no, I mean, AJ Allmendinger is definitely an interesting play. I mean, guy's got some really darn good history here. I mean, you did talk about some of it, but I mean, 19 starts. He's got 2 top 10s and 2 top 5s and 6 top 10s. He's got 12 top 20s. So I mean, starting from the 25th position, and at his price point, what is he at this week? $6,400. I mean, that's a potential there for some good place differential. But it's all about how a guy feels about his car. And obviously, we think of AJ Allmendinger as a road course racer, and this is kind of similar in a way to that. A guy that's not happy with his car, then thus isn't really going to produce the kind of results that you're kind of hoping for, unless they kind of work it out in the middle of the race. But these guys at the back half of the field, and we've already seen it a lot this year, which has been crazy. But obviously we haven't seen as many cautions this year as we have in the past. So we've seen a lot of cars go multiple laps down. I mean, how many cars were on the lead laps last week at Fontana? I mean, it was a lot less than what's normally taking place there. So I think we're going to see the same kind of results here tomorrow when it comes down to how many cars are laps down, and thus that makes it harder for the guys to move up in position and get you those points that you need. So it's going to be really hard to pick guys this week, but I like Daniel Suarez, but me personally, I'd rather go with a guy Ty Dillon here. He was really fast this morning when it came to practice times, and where he's starting at. I mean, the guy's starting in the 32nd position, and a guy that has very minimal salary. When at $5,600, I know that he's probably going to be a crazy owned guy tomorrow. But if the guy's got really fast car, he really likes his car. I saw him today too on social media talk about how he was really happy with his car and wished they had qualifying because they would have qualified really well. So that is a guy that I'm going to be looking at too when it comes to making up my lineups tomorrow. when it comes to helping with that salary differential there, and a guy that really, really likes his car and has a great potential for place differential.
And way to point out the chalkiest of chalk lineups,
Yeah,
which will be Ty Dillon, Dinger, J Mac, Rowdy, and probably Suarez.
There's some other guys too that are out there that that you can plug in there too. Casey Kane, starting in the 29th position. Some of the other ones, one that a lot of people were probably salivating over, and welcome back too, by the way, Landon Castle, into the Cup Series. It's good to have you back, brother.
But hold on, dude. I've heard. Hold on. We need to have this conversation because I've heard a lot of people talking about how awesome it is to have Landon Castle back, and how he's been required to be on the winning lineups all the time at this track, and how good he is here. I just have to remind everyone. He is in the same equipment Jeffrey Earnhardt was in. Like, it's the exact same car. It's not the car he was in last year when he did good things here. He's in Jeffrey Earnhardt's old car. That car was lucky to get around the track. I think the Castle play is the biggest trap of traps this week. I've seen multiple people recommending it, and I am so glad to see him back in a Monster Cup Series ride. But I think it's personally a little bit nonsensical to play him this week being in Jeffrey Earnhardt's ride. Because if we remove his name from it, you would never play that car, Liehr, and I know you.
Yep, exactly. I think a lot of people then will just get infatuated with the driver. Now, the driver obviously plays a part into how well that actual ride does, but more or less, it's more about the equipment than the driver.
Well, that car's going to be 15 laps down really quick, and it can't gain place differential unless people wreck, or unless it's racing against other people that are also 15 laps down. And that equipment is just generally really bad and will go so many laps down. I don't like any of the super value this week. And watch me get burnt. Watch me. This will be what's wrong. You're going to be a ton of carnage for some reason at this track, and those back guys will pay off. But I do not instinctually like it this week.
I mean, one other guy, too, that I think will be a real sneaky guy, but finally get him to where he's and obviously has to come within a week where we don't actually have qualifying. But David Reagan, watch out for him this weekend. Also a great salary relief guy, $5,300 starting in the 28th position. So,
well, I like that play as well. And utilizing plays of that nature will help you get a little bit different from the guys that are going the one dominator, two dominator strategy with the other value guys that we've mentioned. I think is what is most likely going to happen this weekend from the majority of players.
Yeah.
All right, Liehr, it's time to go to the garage where we talk a little bit of trash on a driver. Maybe we're talking trash on NASCAR. Maybe we're talking trash on DraftKings. Liehr, who are you talking trash on and sending to the garage today, buddy?
Man, it's starting to get a little warm in here, but
well, it could be that you're wearing it.
I'd rather have it a little bit warm than be out in the chilliness that is around the country right now. But speaking of chilly and going chilly tomorrow, let's get real here. So I know that my streak of going to garage picks for 2 weeks in a row now, that they've been a must-own play every week. And I'm sorry that I've recommended those drivers as going to garage. It happens. I mean, unfortunately, but I am a man. I own up to my picks. Unfortunately, that does happen. But I'm going to be breaking that this week. And this is definitely going to be a no-doubter play where you shouldn't make the play. And I'm going to be rolling with Eric Amarola, AA, as my going to the garage pick this week. This is one of Eric's worst tracks that he races on in the Cup Series, but I know he's been on the winning lineups the last handful of weeks in a row. It's because every single week he's poorly qualified, and, in that Stewart-Haas equipment, obviously those guys have gotten out to a hot start in this 2018 season, but he'll be starting from the 10th position tomorrow, obviously based on those owners' points, but he's raced here 18 times. He's got 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 3 top 10s. His cost is rising, which is crazy, but he's up $400 from last week's $8,500 to this week he is $8,900. He was the 19th fastest in practice 1, in which he ran 61 laps. In the second practice, he was 7th fastest, which obviously that means he's getting better, but he ran the second most laps out of any drivers with 84 laps practice, behind Austin Dillon's 90 laps. Look, okay? I know he's in better equipment than he was with Richard Petty Motorsports. He's obviously with Stuart Haas now. But this is one of those track types that he's just not good at, which is the reason why he practiced so many laps today. He ran, what is that? 61 plus 84 is 145 laps, okay?
Oh, look at you adding. Like, your fifth grade teacher would be proud.
I know, but hey. But there are other people out there that supposedly, mathematical-wise, can add pretty well too. But players will be on him due to his recent success, but he will not be working out for anybody this weekend. With that $8,900, I'm telling you, there are very many other plays that you could play this weekend, saving that $8,900, where you're going to have a lot of people playing Eric Almirola based on his last handful of weeks' success. So I'm telling you right now, do not play Eric Almirola tomorrow. Go ahead and give it to me, Poppa.
I don't have a problem with your arguments. It's just your track history that I have a problem with. No, I'm not.
My going to garage personal track history?
Yeah. I'm just saying, he's probably going to go out and finish third and be required to be on the lineup still. As you saw, like, he was having great practices in practice too. Happy hour. He's also top 10 in both 15 and 20 lap averages, Liehr. I'm afraid he's going to do it to you again, even though I don't want to make the play. I think it's wrong. I think he's overpriced. I think he's starting way too high. I'm just afraid you're going to get done dirty again, man.
I can't have it happen, and it's not going to happen.
You're not going to go for the three-peat?
No, not doing the hat trick, not going for the trifecta, not doing the hat trick. I mean, not going to happen.
Well, you made me instinctually want to send Danica Patrick to the garage, even though she's not racing, just off of what you said. I mean, think about how bad that car was before they put Eric Almirola in it, right? Like, that car now, this is a fun stat that I heard earlier today. That car has more top 10 finishes this year already than it did in its entire existence with Danica driving it in 5 years. And we are 5 races into the season. That is nuts.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
As far as a real going to the garage pick this week, it's really difficult to make an actual pick with the list of drivers starting in owner points because that's how they've been running this year so far. I'm not feeling anybody that I want to send to the garage for sure.
See, that's the difference between you and me, brother. Is last week I picked Martin Truex Jr. This week I'm picking Eric Almirola. It's because I'm putting my balls out there. And I'm actually going with somebody and picking somebody.
But is it better to put those balls out there and be completely and utterly wrong, or to not put your balls out there? That's my question.
I would rather put them out there. Get the risk out there, and if something happens, then you know what happens. But I'm just saying that I would rather pick somebody than.
I'm a big believer in Mark Twain, where like it's better to be called a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
All kidding aside, dude, it happens to the best of us. Remember that streak I was on last year? All right, dude, if I'm actually going to send someone to the garage this week, I'm a little torn because I can't figure out who instinctually I want to take to the garage. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send Joey Bag of Donuts. You're claiming that I don't have enough cojones. So I'm going to send the guy starting third in really good equipment. I don't think he's going to get it done versus Truex and Rowdy this week. I just don't believe it. I wouldn't own him. I'm going to have 0 of Joey Logano this week. There you go. There's my going to the garage pick. Now watch him win it all because Liehr forced me into it. Like, that's how Liehr works. It's all sneaky like that.
But it is interesting. I mean, you've got all the Penske guys right there in a row with Logano, Keselowski, and Blaney. Obviously we had Keselowski win the race here last year in the springtime. I don't know. To me, there are other drivers out there that I would much rather have exposure on. I mean, one of them obviously would be Jimmy Johnson. This is one of his stronger tracks. Came back to reality a little bit last week. Statistically, this is one of his best tracks. He's got 9 wins here. Starting from that 18th position this week. So he's going to be a great place differential guy. But what comes with Jimmy Johnson though, is he does have a little bit of salary with $9,100. So you're going to have to really pick and choose, some of these guys that you put on your team, but obviously that's every single week. And then you've got Chase Elliott at $9,900 starting 21st. So it's going to be an interesting week, that's for sure, brother.
No, and in my opinion, those 200 cars, like utilizing those 2 cars or anybody else that's above that price range is what's going to help separate you this week in your lineup construction. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's going to force lineups into a different direction than what a majority of the people are going to be doing. With that said, Liehr, give us the winner for last week and get us out of here. Say our goodbyes. Hopefully get to racing via the snow.
There we go. Well, yeah, definitely hoping that we get the racing tomorrow. But unfortunately, it's been a crazy busy week. My mom's going to be actually going back and having surgery again on Monday. So I've been busy with some personal stuff. So I haven't been able to get all the stats and everything from last week put together yet. But I will get them done by the end of the weekend. But congratulations to our winner, Audie Ross. We had AJ Allmendinger with a 32. Eric Amarola, again, in the lineup with a 47. Denny Hamlin with a 59.75. Jimmy Johnson with a 59. Casey Kane with a 31.25. And Martin Truex Jr. with a 111.75 domination from 1 to 1.
Your favorite driver doing you dirty after you sent him to the ground.
Right, for a total of 340.75. So congratulations, sir, on that victory. 50 points coming your way. And we always appreciate you guys obviously watching the show and participating in the league. It's been awesome so far. We have some great players in the league, and looking forward to having another great week this week.
Thanks for watching. As always, guys, remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. We love having everybody talk back and forth about this weekend's race in the comments section. It's what helps grow this community. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and let's win some money while we go racing in the snow.
And if you guys go out there, make sure to butter yourself up.
Yes, and just remember, body parts stick to aluminum.
Oh, yes, they do. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.